In the US of A. I'm over here in Germany, of course, live streaming to y'all. We got some pretty good topics today, I think. I mean, I found them interesting, and I've actually been, I had a little bit of time to go digging through things, and pretty much all I find is Israel and Hamas. So we're going to talk about things that aren't quite so tragic and difficult today. And I also do want to say too, I tried to get a co-host for the show, reached out to several people, didn't work this time around. It's pretty tough to get co-hosts for a 2 o'clock show on Friday, something that we may try to finagle with, because I do think it would be very nice to have someone else on the show to bounce ideas off of, to help things roll smoothly, etc. I think in the future we'll be able to get at least every now and then guests. I might also consider doing shows on Saturday afternoon. So anyone watching, let me know what you think. If Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, would it be better? Something I could probably do. And I think that would be likelier for me to get guests on a Saturday afternoon rather than a Friday afternoon. Christina, nice to see you. And today we're going to talk, I found this video from Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan is not a guy that I highly recommend anyone to watch. He has a very filthy mouth, pretty weird worldviews. He's a very good interviewer, in my opinion. He asks really good questions. He's very curious, and he's a smart guy. But that's all unfortunately kind of clouded over because he's kind of an idiot in terms of worldview and how he sees success, etc. And that's actually what I want to play today. We're going to play a video of his, a clip of an interview that I think is recent. I again, have not seen the whole interview. I don't even know the lady who he is interviewing, I suppose, though in the clip, it's much more like her interviewing him. You'll see that in a second. But I actually just stumbled across this on Facebook. Someone posted it and they obviously liked it. They thought it was a really good answer. And I thought it was a terrible answer to the troubles of the world, and especially his solution for them. Now, before I play this video, I do have to warn everyone that there is language. I'll try to, maybe do a bleep if I can, but yeah, I can't promise anything. So this is probably not for kids to listen to. Over the next few minutes, it's just a couple S words and one F bomb, which I'll try to get. Can't promise anything. So again, if there's kids listening, maybe earphones for the next few minutes. It's nothing too egregious, but also nothing good either. Anyway, that being said, I also, after we talk about Joe Rogan, we want to talk a little bit about Carly Lloyd and her comments about the women's soccer team playing and getting beat by a youth soccer team a couple years back. You can get my opinions on that. And they also want to cover some of the new material coming out from Glorious Heritage, good friends of ours, and really, really cool stuff. I mean, seriously, I'm really excited about it. And it's not just because they didn't pay me to say this. And it's not because, I look at them as kind of my friends. I've never actually met them, but really cool stuff. I'm really excited. We'll wrap up the show with that. And of course, if anyone has any questions, etc., we will finish off, I guess, the last few minutes with that. So without further ado, let's see if I remember how to screen share. Please feel free to ask questions and interact as we go. That's kind of the whole point of this, is to get your feelings on this. Again, a bit of language. This is Joe Rogan and guest, whoever she is.
It's like the Pink Floyd line, living life of quiet desperation. I mean, that just terrifies me.
That's Thoreau's quote, that most men live lives of quiet desperation. It's one of my favorite quotes ever because it's true. And I've been that guy. You're just in this world where you just can't wait to just run away.
And how do people get stuck there? How do you think they get stuck there?
Bills.
Like financial bills?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Bills and commitment. You have an apartment you have to pay for. You have a car you leased. You have a wife that you have to feed. You have a child you have to raise. You have to. You have your mortgage. You have your this. You have your that.
Okay, I already have to pause and just say how he's saying. So this is his quiet desperation. With desperation being obviously a very bad thing. I think in this case, almost despair, right? I mean, right? And he's saying, so if we have responsibilities, a wife, a family, a mortgage, that this is what leads to quiet desperation. Now, again, he keeps going, so it gets a little clearer as he goes. But I think his initial premise is just kind of shockingly bad, and that it's like, well, so you're saying, you know, having a job and a mortgage and a wife and children and responsibilities is this horrible thing that people should just not want. I mean, that was my first impression with it. Let's see what he has to say going forward. Sorry, just a sec.
Where do you think opportunity into that?
It's usually when you're young and you don't have any responsibility. That's when you have your options. Well, your options are severely limited the more you gather responsibilities. Like if I had to, as a 51-year-old father of 3, married man, pays taxes, has a house and a mortgage and a business and all that jazz. If I had to quit everything now and struggle the way I struggled as a stand-up comedian, it would never work. But the only way I could be this person now is if I took that chance when I was 21, when I was dead broke and had my cars repossessed and all that stuff. That's the only way you ever get where you want to go. You have to take a path that's dangerous, and most people want to take the safe path.
You have to take the path that's dangerous. Huh. Again, sounds to me like he's speaking from his own experience, as he says at 21. I think it's kind of interesting, first of all, that he's kind of, I don't know, he's not on the same path here, what he's saying. So he said that he had to deal with this, quiet desperation, but then he says at 21, he went on this, he took a chance and kind of took the more crazy, difficult path, or, kind of took a leap. So which one is it? Has he experienced the life of being in quiet desperation, or did he take this big leap when he was 21? And I don't know. I just think it's such a terrible mentality that because he's rich and famous and has the biggest podcast in the world and has millions of people watching him, that he's acting like if you haven't tried something great like that you're kind of pathetic. I mean, you're going to have a terrible life. I mean, yikes. If you didn't follow your dreams, then oh my goodness, poor you. What are your dreams? I mean, what does he mean here? And I think as we continue with the video, you're going to see that he means money and work, job. What is your dream as a job? What can you do to work that you love? And the reality of that is most people can't and won't and shouldn't do what they quote unquote love. I'm a great example of that. I mean, my dream was to be a sports broadcaster, and I dabbled in it, and eventually you learn that if you actually want to have a family, it's not a good job for that. Doesn't pay well. You travel all the time. It's really hard niche to get into, and so you just see that that's more of the reality. And what my actual dream is, and my actual vocation, is to be a father and a husband, and hopefully, God willing, a good Catholic, and maybe a leader, among my friends. I mean, that's what actually gives me, happiness. And again, it's not this idea that and it did. There was a time where I was really upset that I didn't chase my dreams. And, I'm not doing what I love. And every now and then it comes back and it strikes me. But then, that's kind of the emotions of it. The emotions of I'm not doing what I love. My job is, I'd much rather be calling a baseball game right now. And yeah, sure, I would. But I also can think about it and say, okay, the reality is that that's not realistic. I'm sorry, not my beautiful use of the English language here, but I think, again, it's his whole concept here, I think is very flawed. And let's see, as he continues.
Path leaves you stuck in quiet desperation. Almost every time. It's hell. It's hell. You're selling insurance or some other shit that you care zero about.
But can people just make that change? I mean,
yes,
look,
you can,
I believe they
but
can.
you have to plan it out. The way you can change is you have to put aside enough money to give yourself a window. And then you have to have a plan. And you have to spend all your waking hours outside of whatever shit job you do planning your escape. And you have to come to the realization very clearly that you fucked up and you got yourself stuck. So whatever you're doing, you have to do it like your life depends on it. And
again, apologies for the language. And again, he's not saying like you need to work really hard and save up money to pay off your debt. That's a great message. I think that's really good. I think that's absolutely what people should be aiming for. He's literally saying you're doing all this to get out of a job, a normal job, a job that most people work. And this is almost like this is advice coming from someone from Hollywood. It actually kind of surprises me because I think Joe Rogan is become famous because he has a reputation of not being that guy. He's kind of your ordinary Joe, pardon the pun. But you see here, it's a really bizarre message, and it really seems like it's coming from someone who, sure, he took the risk and tried to be a stand-up comedian, and it worked eventually. But is that going to work for most of us? Absolutely not. It's a crazy message to try to tell people. So I'm supposed to go to my buddy who his dream is to be the next Michelangelo. Just to paint the chapel ceilings. And okay, he's a pretty good painter, but okay, the only thing that's gonna make you happy is if you accomplish that dream. No, that's not life. That's not life. Happiness, and this is interesting. I mean, we talked about Jordan Peterson last week. I mean, he is almost the exact opposite mindset here. Jordan Peterson says, hey, take the responsibilities on your back. That's actually what makes you feel good and accomplished for young men, especially. Take that and understand that you need to first clean your room. Think about the difference of what Joe Rogan here is saying compared to what Dr. Peterson says. Jordan Peterson says, hey, clean your room first and then, go take responsibilities. Joe Rogan saying, try to get out of whatever crap job you have as soon as possible and go do your dream. Go follow your dreams. Joe Rogan sounds more like, I don't know, a Disney princess right now to me.
Is you're trying to be an author and if you're gonna try to be an author and you're working 8 hours a day plus commuting plus family responsibilities or whatever else you have, whatever time that you have to attack like you're trying to save the world. You're trying to save your life. You don't want to drown. That 1.5 hours a day that you have to write, God damn, you better be caffeinated and motivated. You got to go. You got to get after it. And you got to have discipline. Most people don't have those things. Most people don't understand what it's like to really go for something.
I just think that he's so smarmy here, isn't he? Because he's really saying if you didn't follow your dream, that means that you didn't have motivation. You weren't going for what you wanted. It's like, hey, who actually has backbone and I don't know, solid character are the people who do work your dirty jobs. And look at, again, another guy who I really like is Mike Rowe. He used to do the show Dirty Jobs. I think he may still do one somewhere, but did it for a long time on the Discovery Channel. It's a great show. I obviously don't know if I can recommend every episode, etc., but really cool message. The message being that there's a lot of work out there that nobody wants to do, and that becomes more and more the case. As I'm sure most people out there know, if you're willing to just get a little bit dirty, and put your nose to the grindstone, man, you can really find success and money, and money is not the end all, as it seems Joe Rogan here appears to think. But it does, of course, help to, raise a family, big family, God willing. It helps to support your church and your neighbors. That's a good thing. But it doesn't have to come in following your dream. I think it's almost the exact opposite in a way. Some people, sure, 1 out of 1,000 maybe can do the thing that they love and find success in it. Probably less. It's probably 1 in a million, to be honest. But what you can do is really search for something that no one else wants to do, and then do it well, work hard. Tell you, in today's world, that will find success. It's not this Disney princess mumbo jumbo of living out your dreams. That's a bunch of garbage. I think we need to tell our kids that too. Really tell them that hey, we're Catholics. What our dream should be heaven, right? And so, what we also need to figure out is what is our vocation, and then, you know, go from there. Yeah, Alexa's a good point. Yeah, Alexa saying that she told her son that work is a curse from God for original sin. Even your quote unquote dream job isn't going to fulfill because it's work. Do all for the greater glory of God. And that's absolutely right. I mean, that's absolutely the case. And it's there is no such thing as a dream job. I mean, Joe Rogan, I mean, I don't know. He's good at what he does. Does he seem like an overly happy person? No. And I've watched some of his episodes, not recently, but I used to. And he's a guy who gets a lot of his happiness, quote unquote, from drugs, and like hard drugs. If that's what you need to feel fulfilled, even though you're mega rich, you're doing something wrong. Then you see someone like, again, Dr. Jordan Peterson, who's the opposite. He is searching for truth and telling everyone, pick up the responsibilities, and hey, now you see him at the Latin Mass. And does he seem particularly happy either? No, I think he's kind of a haunted person. I think his fame has done him bad, I suppose. But he's certainly more on the right track than Joe Rogan. And again, purely my opinion. But anyway, it's just something that I saw on Facebook, and it really struck me. Does anyone really care what Joe Rogan's opinion is? Well, maybe. I mean, I think I saw he gets something like 11 million viewers per episode. So only a little bit ahead of the Catholic Family Podcast, thanks to the 9 people watching right now. No, it's yeah, I don't know. I found it interesting. Anyway, moving on to the next. So I do see Ethereal Catholic. The ethnic Catholic neighborhood, social media. Yeah, no, it's a good point that you're saying that the loss of the Catholic neighborhood or the Catholic atmosphere has driven a lot of people to despair. I think a big cause for despair is heavy conscience. People have sinned and they don't have any recourse for it. And I think that's to me is really where a lot of despair and dark thoughts come from, is that you've done wrong, but you don't know what to do to fix it. And of course, we have the sacrament of confession, and even then, it can lead, of course, to depression. But I do think you're right. I think that we search for happiness in worldly things. Look at Joe Rogan again. He's searching for happiness in money or in fame or in our dream job. You're never going to find it, ever. I mean, it's just that simple. Happiness comes from God, of course, and from family, from love, from self-sacrifice, from responsibility, from accomplishing a day's work, because then I did my work today, which is going to feed my family or myself. If you're single, of course. If you're a priest, you're doing your own work for the souls of your parishioners, and that's where it's at. It is in the daily grind. And that's what I think we need to understand and to appreciate and to accept our crosses. I mean, I keep saying Jordan Peterson, but what did Christ say? Christ said, take up your cross. Life is hard. Take it up. Christ helps us to carry that. Christ doesn't say, hey, nah, go find the easy path, or go follow your dreams. No, follow me. That's what Christ said. Follow me. Look what Christ did. Christ died on the cross. So, Joe Rogan, you're wrong on this one, buddy. Now, next topic. I'm not going to spend too much. Boy, that was already 20 minutes. Boy, that flies by pretty quick. So this is interesting. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on women's sports, and you're going to be surprised by some of them. Though I have to say that there's a joke first that I saw on a show one time that the guy very deadpan. And he says, I don't understand the issue. Men's basketball, women's basketball. I like sports and I like jokes. What's the big deal? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, actually, this is hang with me. Hang with me. This is actually kind of nuanced. So anyway, the story I'm taking from the New York Post, and it's about Carly Lloyd, who I've actually always liked. Again, you guys are going to be surprised about my take on women's soccer here. And she's actually a female athlete that isn't acting like a crazy person. The New York Post, U.S. women's national team player legend Carly Lloyd shared one of her most embarrassing moments representing the United States when her team lost to the FC Dallas boys under 15 team, under 15. While answering questions on Twitter, Lloyd was asked by one user, quote, Carly, is it true you lost to a bunch of 15-year-old boys, unquote. She said, yes, it's true. I know thousands of people have already brought that up. And she said they were good. Lloyd went on to say the loss wasn't the only one she experienced at the hands of a male team, but it helped her secure some prestigious tournaments, including gold medals at 2 FIFA World Cups and 2 Olympics. Quote, we actually lost to a youth Bayern Munich team in my career as well, but then we went on to win Olympics and World Cups. So, ... And here you see a picture of her with one of the boys. And she says, this is where I like it. She says, typically when someone mentions this, I'll post one of the pub photos of you standing with one of the boys who was a foot taller than you. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That was a commenter. Anyway, sorry. And then she said they should beat us. They're bigger, stronger, faster. These boys always give us a run for our money. It was great prep. Now, I just wanted to talk about this because how often have we seen sense in any sports lately? Especially women's sports. And it's just really refreshing to see this from someone who I've actually liked. She was the captain of the World Cup women's team for a long time. I think she set several records. I don't follow women's soccer closely, but I actually did often watch the Women's World Cup and the European Championship. I find it interesting. When I was doing my dream job as a sports commentator for mostly high school sports, I actually found it really interesting that when I broadcasted, boys games, I almost couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it because these boys are just taught from a young age to, they get nicked and they roll around on the ground, holding their faces like they're going to die, like, hey, bring me to the emergency room right now. And the ref will blow a whistle and call a foul or a yellow card, and boys will hop right up. And it seriously, there were games where it was unbearable. I wish I still had my tape for it because there were times where I can tell you my disgust was definitely heard over the commentary. And then I'll never forget this. I did another game, a girls game. It was on the same day. So I did 2 games in a day. I did a boys game first, and then the same schools played against each other, the girls teams. This was high school. So under 18, I guess. I don't know what you call it in the US. And the boys game, again, I just could barely handle it. Just like embarrassing, just absolutely embarrassing lack of masculinity, I suppose. And the girls teams come on there. And I remember this play. I don't remember exactly what happened, but these 2 girls collide. And I mean, big collision. And this one girl gets just clocked in the nose and she's just bleeding from the face. And she was on the ground for a second, popped up, blood pouring out of her nose, and walks to the sideline, comes, gets her nose, gets tissues stuck in her nose, and then walks back out, plays the rest of the game. I think high-fived the girl she ran into, and just it's so much tougher. I don't know what it is. There's something cultural about it, in the sport, that the women are just so much tougher, and it's not more fun to watch in the high level. I mean, because the men are so much faster and stronger and better, they're more skilled. But I really had a lot of respect for the women, at least on the lower levels. And I think on the higher levels too, that they kind of have to be tougher. And so it's actually a sport that I actually enjoy. And what I enjoy about it, and what I enjoy about what Carly Lloyd here had to say, was that when they're separated, when women's sports are just women's sports and men's are men's, that's fine. Don't compare them. This whole idea that the women complaining about how they don't make as much money as the men. Well, it's like, well, no, of course you don't, because not as many people watch your sport, because that's just the reality of things. You can't make things, you can't, just because you're playing the same sport doesn't mean you make the same amount of money. You have to be the best. And I mean, why do you think the NFL makes more than college, or college would make more than high school? I mean, it's maybe not in Texas, but you get my point. I mean, it's a silly thing that, I think people have seen in our society, that we've gone crazy and everything's backwards. And so, hey, let's just try to make our money now, because everything's dumb. So we may as well do our best and try to make our, raise our pay. And I'm not saying that women should be paid more or less. I honestly don't know, but they shouldn't be paid as much as the men. I mean, that's ridiculous talk, because the men just bring in more money. It's pretty basic, economics, I suppose. But I do really respect, again, that Carly Lloyd was just able to say, hey, yeah, they beat us. They were good prep, that they're just literally bigger, stronger, faster than us. And then we went and won, and we're the best in the world at what we do. That's awesome, man. Come on. Women are great. I think that's just an incredible thing, that our society these days tries to pit women and men on the same, playing ground. It's like, well, that's ridiculous. They're totally separate, and they shouldn't be put together. And, I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say about that. They're all, yeah, that the just kind of talking about the toughness of sports these days. That is absolutely true. Just watching the NFL these days is just almost unbearable. It's just, and I get it. I mean, the issue with these sports is that they are really dangerous, and there actually was a very serious lack of caring about mental and physical well-being after the sports up until recently. That's true. So I mean, you have the whole CTE issue, where you had a bunch of NFL players, shooting people up and going crazy because, well, their brain was turned to jello, because, well, they kept hitting people over and over. And I played a little bit of football, semi pro, and I remember, and this is I had an old school coach, and so there was this drill. I forget what it was called, kamikaze or something. There's some word for it, but I don't remember. And anyway, so you go 10 yards apart, or 15, something like that, and you both lay down on your backs. One guy has a ball, the other guy doesn't. So one guy has to tackle the guy with the ball, right? And so I did it one time, and I'm a pretty big guy, but not huge. I mean, I'm 200 pounds. One night at the time I was probably 190, 5'10", 190. So pretty average. And so I'm laying on my back. Coach blows the whistle. We both pop up, and I turn around, and I had to tackle the guy. The other guy had the ball, and I turn around and I look at him, and this guy was probably 6'5", 300 pounds. And it's like, okay, so you don't have there's no time to really think. You just instinct, okay, I got to tackle this guy, boom. And so, and I think this is what the coaches are looking for, who has that instinct, which I guess I did. And I hit the guy, kind of with the crown of my head. And, kind of brought him down on top of me, tackled him. And I've had head and neck issues ever since. So, it is a tough thing. I think that the toughness are I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole of sports talk here, but I do think we need more toughness and masculinity in the world, period. But I do at least kind of understand why they're trying to avoid people's brains being turned to jelly. But yeah. Anyway, okay, we're gonna go over one more segment before. I cannot talk tonight. Seriously, I got too much going on in my brain. I'm gonna go over one more thing here, and then see if anyone has anything to comment. Again, we're going to aim for having a co-host sometime. It's just tough on Friday afternoons. So again, we might move this to Saturday afternoons. We'll see. That was my wife's idea, that maybe people are just, actually not at work, on a Saturday at 2. I will see what I can work out. I was really close to getting a couple people on, just didn't work this time. But in weeks to come, I'm hoping that we'll get something, because I think it's nicer to have someone to chat with. I mean, I can talk for hours, but I don't think that's what everyone wants to hear. Okay, so I'm going to share this last thing. Now this is pretty cool. This is from good friends of ours over here, and they are, oops, no, that's not the right one. Sorry about that. Let's see, where is this? See, this is the issue when you try to do. Why did it go over here? There we go. Okay. So, Glorious Heritage, again, good friends of the show. And I'm just going to play it straight through. This is 2 minutes long about, and pretty cool what they've got going on. Hopefully they don't mind that I share this. I don't think they will. Definitely go check them out at Glorious Heritage on YouTube, and I will attach the link to their website as well.
Hello, my name is Mr. Charity. I'm excited to announce the launch of our new upcoming video series on the history of the Catholic Church. This series will take us through the entire history of the Catholic Church, from its beginning all the way until the start of World War II. We'll cover 162 important topics, both people and events, and we'll use our own color-coded timeline to make the whole thing easier to understand. You can download a timeline to color and follow along as you watch the videos. You can find this timeline on our website, as well as summary and question sheets for each of the 162 topics. Each video will be about 10 minutes long and will be divided into 3 sections. A 4 or 5 minute lesson from me, Mr. Charity, a quick thought or two from Mrs. Charity, and finally a unique and interesting story at the end. I know your children will love this series. It's a great way for them to learn about the history of the Catholic Church in a systematic and engaging way. We will release our first video on Wednesday, November 15th. A new video will be released every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until we finish the series. You can find the videos on our website, and the series will stay there so you can start late or progress at your own pace. If you want to be reminded when we start, please email us and we'll send you an email reminder. But because so many emails end up in the spam folder, we encourage, if you're comfortable, for you to include your cell phone number so we can text you about this and other projects that we'll be launching in the future. We hope to see you on November 15th for the first video.
Pretty cool stuff. Father Geckel, okay, I'll get back to that in a second, Father. I think you're right. No, absolutely. Awesome stuff. I'm really excited about it. It's stuff that, I've got a couple little kids of my own that I'm going to do my best to homeschool somehow. Everyone say a prayer that we figure out a loophole around the rules here in Germany. But either way, no matter what, these types of things, this is so important, to not just understand the history of our faith and history in general, but also get children excited about it. And I think this kind of stuff, you got the coloring, you got the colors, you got interesting stories. And I know Dominic over there, he does such a good job of putting this at a good level where it's interesting, but children are going to be entertained and, stick with it. He's got several children on his own. So I think that's definitely something that everyone should be excited about and support. Please go support them. And these are the types of things we have to go and give our money to, because if we do, what more are they going to make? What other things do we want to spend our money on? How many of us have Netflix accounts or Amazon or whatever? Is that worth $20 when this, Glorious Heritage for, $10 or $5, $2? This is the stuff. If we give them money, if we give them support, they'll be able to make more stuff. I guarantee you. And they're so energized and excited. I mean, this is where it's at. I mean, we really have to give them a chance. And I'm not saying I don't know anything about how they're doing or anything, but I mean, I know for sure that if we don't right now at the beginning, then there's a good chance that it won't work, because you just have a certain amount of time where, you give all this work, and if it doesn't, boom at the beginning, then it's tough to get through. So please go support them. It's such good stuff, and it's worthy of our few bucks. And please share it with your friends. I mean, any Catholic is going to love that. I mean, right? I with kids, come on. I mean, it's awesome. And I was looking through it on their website. I mean, you can get these little cutout characters and stuff that go along with they have printables, cut out movable figures, they say. And it's really fantastic stuff. So gloriousheritagecartoons.com. Not a paid sponsor. They didn't even ask me to do this. I hope they're even okay with it. So Dominic, hopefully you don't mind the shout out. Anyway, just a couple comments before we end today's show. Father Geckel, if it's Saturday, it would be better to listen or join. I think you're right, Father, and I think especially for working people, I'm priest. I guess I don't know, but that's good to hear from you, Father. I mean, I'd love to have you on, Father. That would be fantastic to get you on here on live stream. I was going to say on a Friday, but I guess maybe a Saturday is better. The main reason we didn't do Saturday is because we already have a show on Saturday. The show for Our Lady, which is also fantastic. But I think it would make sense to maybe just do both then, because I think that we are just going to get more people on a Saturday. Please pray for Father Lewis Campbell. Yeah, absolutely. He was a priest down in Texas, I believe. I heard that he is approaching the end. So definitely, say some prayers for Father Lewis Campbell. And I think that's about all I got for you guys. I appreciate you all being on. Hopefully you were entertained. I think that it really made me lose some respect for Joe Rogan and gain some respect for Carly Lloyd. So here we are. And I guess here we will be until next week. I think I'll get a guest on. I'm going to get a guest on. And we're going to aim, we'll just say right now, I think we may as well. I don't see why not. We'll try next Saturday at 2 p.m. Instead of Friday, see how it goes. And then I think we'll get a guest on, and maybe it'll be someone pretty good. I've got a couple pretty good guests that are not committed because the time, but maybe on a Saturday afternoon, we'll see who we can get. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Jennifer, Alphonsus, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks for all the support you guys give us here at Catholic Family Podcast. We appreciate it. We love all you guys. And until next time, God bless you.